Going into
Saying
economics.
that government is corrupt, Manny?
Basically saying that government is
Are you a
corrupt.
terrorist?
I'm probably with Al Qaeda for saying these things. Definitely saying that.
Okay.
And the Fed this year. I mean,
Sean will be there.
yeah,
Definitely. I know he'll be there.
Sean's gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be there, Sonny.
I am trying my best. I'm scheduled to work today, but
yeah,
I will try my best
we're gonna
for
make sure that Sonny's there. Somehow we're gonna get him there. And if we can't get him there for the actual thing, we're gonna get him there for the after party, at
Yes.
least, because
I get on the floor.
because we're not going anywhere. So we're gonna show that we're not going anywhere. We're gonna hang out all night. Not only there, but we're gonna have a little after party, a peaceful thing, where a bunch of us who think that we should in the Fed can go and just hang out, just chill.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
You know,
thing.
and just feel free to talk about this. We could talk about other things too, but to just feel
Networking
free.
freedom style.
Yeah,
Yep.
freedom.
Yeah, it's a good way to get the younger people there. I mean, create a fun environment.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
No, I
It'll be
think this year after all the years that we've been doing it, I mean, Sean, you're a trooper, bro. I hats off to you. If I had my hat on, I'd be taking it off right now. But bro,
Do you want my hat?
we've been doing this for a long time. I mean, Sean, you've been doing this for a little bit longer than me. And I think this year, 2012, with the whole audit the Fed getting as close as it did, and Harry Reid shooting it down.
Hey man,
I
that's
mean,
one step
no,
closer.
we're getting very close to victory.
right.
I could smell it. I mean, I could almost taste it.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
It's coming. It's coming. I mean, they can't stop it. If we keep coming, they cannot
Figure it
stop
out.
us.
yeah, I think the Fed's shaking in their boots.
That's right.
But one other thing too, though, that I wanted to throw out there is that this year, again, going back to the whole putting in work, is that throughout time, throughout the efforts that we've put into this, more and more people are talking about it. I mean, I'm not trying to, toot my own horn here, but my mom and my dad, they're actually talking about the Federal
Really?
Reserve.
Right on.
Yeah. People that you wouldn't even expect, they're like, yeah, the banks, man. I remember back in 2008, they got that bailout, and I'm losing my house.
Yeah.
And then I remember hearing about that other bailout that GM got, and I'm losing my car.
Well, they're probably talking about it because they actually love you and they actually listen to what you want to say. Whether they agree with you or not will depend on the facts that they actually see at that time. But
yeah, I think it just takes time.
it definitely takes
people,
time
people
because
are definitely waking up.
well, yeah, the first time that I talked to my parents, they probably didn't know what I was talking about. But over time, it's like they've come to see that, yeah, they're not gonna, they might not come out on September 22nd,
Right.
but
But they do know that the banks.
but they're gonna know that I'm gonna be out there,
Right.
and they're gonna take note that I'm definitely gonna be out there and talking about these things.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really
I
woke
mean-
up my pops. I told him, I said, hey pops, you know why I go out there? He had no idea. I mean, he kind of knew that it was about the banks, and I told him, I said, you know what? It's because the banks are trying to take grandma's house.
Yeah, they're trying to take all of our houses. That's
Is
what
it?
Jenna 21 is all about.
I mean, my
It's taking,
I mean, him,
putting us
yeah.
into condos, putting us into, FEMA camps,
But
basically.
it really put it in perspective, though. Like you're saying, Agenda 21, FEMA camps, all this, and talking to my pops about dealing with his banking situation and how Bank of America and how Chase Bank and all them pretty much took advantage of the United States populace and said, hey, we're gonna do all these things for you. The bank's not even coming through for them. So they promised all this help, this and that, and they're just threatening. So for me, it's personal. It became personal because my father, he worked his ass off for years. He lived the American dream, I guess you can say. He put in that 25 year, 35, actually, what was it? 30 years. Put in 30 years of his life to the same job. Not gonna say where he worked, respecting his privacy. but you know he put in his 30 years and his Social Security benefits. This is the one that got me the most. Is that if he decides to get a part-time job, or find another way to actually supplement his income,
They're gonna.
if he makes too much, it's all cut off. So he's struggling trying to keep the house that him and my grandmother owned together, joint custody, or they had joint ownership in their name. And my father, you know, as soon as my grandmother died, he took over. And the banks just, you know, did a number on him.
It's messed up, man.
You know, promises, 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 sign the dotted line here, sign this and that. And they get the bailout and he's stuck, you know, stuck on his retirement plan. And if he makes too much for them to accept or whatever, you know, their quota is, it's goodbye benefits and back to work, old man. I'm sorry for you.
It's messed up, man.
So yeah, this Federal Reserve thing, 922.
This is
2012.
personal. This is personal. You know, they've made it personal. And the only thing is that we need to make people realize that this is personal. They've already made it personal. This is like a silent bomb.
Right.
That
I mean,
just
it's
has gone up, and but you know, only certain people have really felt it, but everybody is gonna feel it. It's just a
Right.
matter of time.
right. And Sonny, we were talking about this earlier. Is just back to that whole structure of control on the banks. You know, like you're saying, we have these currencies that we deal with, you know, Federal Reserve and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. So they create these systems that we're stuck into, and the value of your home, your private property, your possessions, your capital, is based on that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically a slave to that system.
Well, the way the current, it's the fractional reserve system of, making money out of debt, basically. You know, the very use of the currency implies debt. So yeah, it's a debt finance. It's a debt system. Yeah. Well, no, it's like a debt fuel system. That's a better way to put it. But yeah.
So basically, the more people that go into debt, the more people that paying in these programs.
The system thrives.
The
Because
system
they use that
keeps-
debt to eventually create more money, deflating it more, devaluing the interest. Not deflating, devaluing the interest of it. And then, you know, like I was explaining to you on film last time, you know, if the value of dollar goes down, you can't buy as much, and there's a gap between the income you earn and what you spend, and the expenses get higher. We take in less, and we pay out more, which is again furthers the debt. It limits your buying power, which limits your power in general, limits your influence and scarcity. You're creating you're creating a progressive form of artificial scarcity.
So it's almost like a tax, like an invisible tax. So you create this artificial scarcity.
It's like having
and
sand
then
in your pocket.
you
and
make
then
people
it
pay
just
more.
goes down because it's like the worth of your money decreases as seconds go by. That's why, like in 1970, you could rent an apartment for $40 a month. You know, even if your job only paid
$40 a month.
Yeah, even if your job only paid
No.
$2 an hour,
No
you work 40 hours a week. That same job pays $10 an hour, and the apartment's now $1,000 a month.
$10 an hour. Wow.
So you look at what you're bringing in as compared to what you're giving out, and
Right, and
scarcity.
right, but it
Less
sounds
buying power,
right.
Yeah.
Right, less buying power. But back to what what we're talking about here is the deflation and how they control it.
Yeah.
So for us today, we're like, wow, $10 an hour. I mean, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, that's nothing. But that $10 an hour had the purchasing power of
No, $10 an
$40 an hour
used to mean
today?
something.
Right.
Back in $20 was like $100 nowadays. Maybe $200.
So you're moving
You know,
on up big time.
Yeah, you could buy things for 5 cents back when you had a $20 bill in your pocket back in 1987. You know,
Right.
you could still buy things that were really, really cheap. Gas was really cheap.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
was not even $1 back
it took
then.
me $10 to fill up a tank, which lasts a week. Now it costs me $70.
I remember.
Well, here, let me-
gas was 99 cents.
Hey, let me ask this question though, because you're on the topic you asked. Didn't mean to cut you off. Since we have Sean on
Dude.
Skype, no, check it
Yeah.
out. Since we have
Yeah.
Sean on Skype, so
we
Sean,
gotta get Sean's
okay,
view.
so I gotta get your view on this one here. So we talk about gas, we talk about inflation, we talk about energy, we talk about our daily lives and our costs going up. What can you add to what we're basically saying about the inflation, gas being 75 cents 20 years ago, and today it's $5, 4.25. What's your take, bro?
The amount of inflation that is in the system today is essentially what's taking the system down for the purchasing power of normal people. And that's why we talk about when people are losing their houses, it's not really that they're losing their houses per se, they just can't afford anything anymore. And when you have to choose between what to eat and if you're going to eat do your mortgage, then that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the bottom line, is that it's not just that either, it's also taxes. It's the amount of money that gets taken out of your paycheck automatically. People don't understand that, we didn't have a system where taxes would be taken out automatically.
Right.
It was all voluntary before. And as the last 100 years have happened, probably the system came about in 1913, obviously, but I mean, probably 1923 or so is when it really started up. And it's taken this amount of time to basically, steal everyone's money. And this is why I always say that the Federal Reserve essentially just steals your money, because it's through all of these fake banking programs like 401ks, investment funds, and the derivatives are all a part of this, where the guys who are doing derivatives are using the money that the Federal Reserve gives them at a very low interest rate, and they're able to take bets and risk with public money. And that's essentially what the whole system is. And it's a huge con game.
Right, it's criminal. I mean, what you just explained is criminal. We see Occupy, where you have this element of the communist faction who is controlled by the banks, and a lot of that is controlled by Soros. And also peeling the onion further back, we also see who controls Soros and who does Soros work with and work for, and that's the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve banks, creating their fiat currency, issuing all of these loans, and further devaluing the currency of the American purchasing power. We see this system kind of cannibalize itself, I guess you can say, where it's like creating this massive debt where it just destroys itself, but at the same time you're creating all these other powerful groups, like I could even throw out the Muslim Brotherhood, who is being funded by NATO, who's taking loans from the Federal Reserve, the IMF, the World Trade Organization, and then we look at Israel, who's taking money from the United States, using that to fund counter-terrorism operations against the Palestinians. And then we see this insurrection in Libya, where the people took over Libya, and they had their own, the Libyan government had their own banking system, and this fiat system had to be set up. So, as you're going through all these different points and topics, you're hitting them on the head, hitting the nail right on the head, right on the banking system. And the Creature from Jekyll Island kind of mutated and spread itself throughout the world. So, I'm just adding, more, I guess you can say, credit to what you're talking about here. And it's very important that we address that, because a lot of people, they say, oh, communism, capitalism, those two things are the problem. But at the root of it all, and Sonny was talking about this and Greg as well, is the banking system, the fiat currency, that system of creating money out of thin air, which is backed by nothing, no commodities whatsoever, and people that
Fractional reserve banking,
right,
right?
and people that are ignorant to that system tend to fall prey to it. Like you're talking about the 401ks. All of us were actually talking about that. The 401ks that you put your money into, and you don't even make anything off of it, because by the time you cash out, the system is so diluted and devalued,
I didn't
it's
get
pretty
nothing
much
out of
worthless.
it. I spent a couple years
You
in
know.
Target. You know, I put in like at least like 5 or 10 grand. I didn't get nothing.
Right,
Nothing
exactly, and that goes back to
So
Sean,
where's-
what Sean was talking
where
about,
does
what
that
we're talking
money
about.
go? Where does that money go that I put in? That money goes somewhere. That's the
It
same
goes to
thing.
a fund. Well,
But that's
now
the same
Social
thing
Security
with
works.
stocks.
It's the
You know,
ultimate
the money goes
redistribution of wealth, is what it is.
Right.
It
Right.
goes back to the banks. It goes back to the people that manage the funds. And I was listening to this lady. She's a doctor, but essentially what she is she's like an economist type thing from a university, and she was essentially talking about how the best thing would be to do is to tax the pension accounts of the very rich, and that's what people seem to think is the solution. Is the rich people are making so much money that we just simply have to tax them so
Right.
that they don't make as much money anymore.
Right.
And what they don't understand is that who's the rich people that they're trying to talk about?
Right, exactly. They don't even know who
When
that
it
is.
actually comes down to it, they're talking about rich people who are making over like $150,000 a year.
But they're
Like it's 150,000.
Right.
Let's say $5 and $10
Sean,
million dollars.
Sean.
These are the rich people.
Right,
Right.
Sean. Could I pause you for a second just to add to what you're saying?
But that's not the 1%.
Right. What the average, I guess you can say, idiot or the average Joe or whatever you want to call him, thinks someone rich is someone that makes over 150K and less than
It's
let's
not
say 50 million, because we all know. Let me just add this to the whole caveat here, is that the quote unquote elite, the Illuminati, I guess you can quote it as, make over what, 200 million, 500 million. So if you're not even in
These
that
guys
bracket,
in the billions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
There's
even
some
further.
people think that any
Right.
job is
Right, so they're not even
Solid.
affected. So they're not even affected by these things, right?
There's a 0.01%.
Right,
that
but-
come out of the
Yeah, the
0.1%.
real-
Right, but I'm right, but I was
Point-
just
There's a point. Yeah. Sorry.
no, you're right. You're right on the point. The 0.01%
There's a whole-
is the billionaires, like Sean threw out, and that the 1%, the actual 1%,
There's a whole-
is the people that make what, a million up to 50 million, and the 0.001% makes 100 million plus. Once you make 100 million, you're in the club.
I mean, Matty, not even that. I mean, the 0.01% people, we're talking about these rich banking
Right.
people, the ones that are basically taking all of the tax-free foundation money
Right.
and shielding it from taxes. These are people making billions of dollars a year.
Right, that's the real rich. Those are the real
That's the
rich
real
people.
rich, right?
They're
And-
yeah.
Unfortunately, those people will never be touched, because if they ever thought that people would come after their money, they would kill people. Okay, they would go out and they would physically make sure that never happened. So that's why that they got in bed with the government, is that way that it's absolutely. It's never going to happen that these tax-free foundations and the ultra-rich, these guys like, people always rail on Warren Buffett, but I'm not exactly sure
Right.
if he's part of this. But
Well,
guys like
he-
Gates is definitely a part of this. Guys
Mhm.
like Soros, even guys like the Koch brothers, they try to stay under the radar, but they're still they still manipulate people for their own purposes, and but it's really the guys at the very top. I
Right.
mean, you take somebody like Larry Summer, or you take somebody like Bernanke, or people who head up the Federal Reserve Board, the people who head up the Federal Reserve Bank, Timothy Geithner, parts of
Paulson.
these are not ultra rich. These are
Right.
these are soldiers. These are soldiers for the people that make all of this power.
Well, yeah, they're the proverbial speaker for the Fuhrer.
But that's what they've turned all of our presidents and our Congress members and our senators. That's what they've turned them into. It's just soldiers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, but back to what Sean was saying is that these people, this 0.001% can be defined as, you know, people that are making over a certain bracket, and again, the 0.01%, if we get into the whole breakdown of the Occupy type mindset, the 0.01%,
Probably not.
what they think that is, even the 0.2% or the 2%, whatever it is, makes $1 million to 150 million, 100 million. We'll cut it off somewhere around that, because
But
when,
do you know who those people are? Those are the people that employ everyone in the country.
right. So exactly.
You can't tax those people. If there's anybody in this country that should not be taxed,
It should be
it's
them.
the people that make jobs for people.
Right, exactly. So let me add this to the whole, again, this whole caveat of information just being blasted here, is that the people that are in that 0.1% bracket, the 2%, whatever you want to call it, the 1 million to 50 million, they're the ones that are giving jobs, and that 0.01%, the bankers, the Warburgs, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Astors, the people that are spoken about in The Creature from Jekyll Island, they're the ones that are exploiting that 1%, and by doing that, it's trickle-down economics, and it's siphoning the money from the working person, because that middleman, like we're talking about, the soldiers for the Fuhrer, the soldiers for the dictator, are carrying out the actions. They're the ones that say, hey, you work for IBM, there's this much profit to it. But let me take a break here, I gotta get the dogs.
Should we wrap it? Wrap this up?
There you go. So we can,
All right. Well, we're gonna
Hey, get
probably
inside.
wrap this up.
Go.
Okay. And I'm going to copy another file into Skype, okay?
Okay.
And what this file is a GAO, federal investigation of the Federal Reserve, okay?
Okay.
And essentially, if you look at the borrower breakdown, you'll see that this is part of the $16 trillion that was taken out in all of these bailout funds. And out of the $16 trillion, a huge amount of it was given to foreign interests. But the largest taker of this money was Citigroup,
Yeah.
Morgan Stanley,
Yeah.
Merrill Lynch,
Yeah.
Bank of America, right?
Right.
These are all hedge fund people. These are
Right,
people
right.
that are trading derivatives on the markets.
Right. Sean,
And yeah, it's crazy, man.
check it out, Sean. So, not trying to cut you off here. We got to cut this, pretty short here. Running out of time. But one thing you hit the nail on the head was with the hedge funds. The hedge funds are the 0.001% that's destroying the economy. Those are the actual people that have that money and that capital to literally buy countries and leverage entire banks out of business. They're the ones that are the zombie bank operators. So if you have, trillions upon trillions of dollars, like you said, 16 trillion, but then we could even peel the onion further back and look at the Federal Reserve System. And when we look at the Federal Reserve System, we see J.P. Morgan, we see the Rockefeller family, the Astor family, all these different families, the Warburg family, all these other families in there as well. But again, the Rothschilds, going back to the Bank of England, they're the ones that have one of the strongest controlling arms in the IMF. And the IMF, which is part of the World Bank and the World Trade Organization, they have that world currency. So when we look at the world currency, one of the missions of the world currencies is to destroy local currency. So by doing so, when you destroy a local currency, you force the local currency to take part into the system. So again, it all goes back to that whole banking structure, the whole Creature from Jekyll Island mutating and spreading its disease and its mutation throughout the entire planet. So,
That's right.
So that, you know, that's one of the things that we gotta expose, gotta, you know, face the facts and really take on.
Mhm.
Sonny, Greg, you guys, Sean, anything else? I mean, I didn't mean to take the
Start,
spotlight.
Yeah,
I
when
mean-
you get a chance, just you can download that file that I just put up on Skype,
Yeah, I
and
can see it.
it's got the excerpt from the GAO investigation. It's got some good information in there to read. So
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to talk about that on the next show.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
actually on our Skype group thing, but we gotta get Sonny on there.
Yeah,
next,
yeah,
too.
yeah.
All right, brother.
Well, no, we're
Alright,
not.
guys.
I mean, we're not done yet. But Greg, Sonny, you
man.
guys got anything else you want to add?
Hey man, we just gotta come out. You know, we gotta in the
Just
Fed.
get out there, learn.
212.
Just get people out there, and just get out there and just learn about this stuff.
Right.
You know, because it's gotta spark your interest. It's gotta hit you personally. It's gotta spark your interest, and no
Right.
matter what way you interpret it or connect it or whatever, it's a system designed to destroy you. So you gotta just get that information and learn to develop the interest in learning more and more and more, so you can spread that knowledge to others and explain it. Because
Makes sense.
I'm not an expert in this. I'm still, but I understand the basics of a dysfunctional system. That's what
Right.
this is.
Yeah, but you know that we need to get rid of the Federal
Absolutely.
Reserve. There's no
Absolutely.
reason why they're
But-
still there.
But again, as you know, living through this whole experience of dealing with this fiat currency and trying to save money and all that, I mean, it's not every day that people see this, and you're seeing it, you know, and that's why it's a good opportunity to have all of us here talking, you know, with your, you know, like you said, you're not an expert. I'm nowhere near an expert. I take no claim to be an expert, and my expertise lies in, I guess you can say, my desire to learn.